Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to be going over the 4.0 pre-release notes. So that means that I'm going to be going over the new Planeswalkers, I'm going to be going over the new mechanics, how do they work, I'm going to be going over some changes to the game, including the hot ticket item, which is the change to how VIP and standard packs are going to work. And I'm also going to be going over bug fixes. So if you don't want spoilers, stop here, because from here on out is going to be spoilers. When I get to the VIP and standard packs, I request that you listen to what I have to say all the way through, and that you please leave commentary on this video about how you feel about what I'm saying. So let's just jump right into it. We've got a lot of really exciting things to cover in this video, starting with 3 brand new Planeswalkers. The first of which is Calyx, Destiny's Hand. This is going to be a brand new white-green Planeswalker. It's going to start out with 113 health at level 60. It's got 3 abilities that are largely based on enchantments and the new mechanic, Devotion. And then its mana bonuses are actually pretty solid across the board. No singular mana bonus stands out as being overwhelmingly powerful, but they're all pretty solid. So we've got +4 to green, +4 to white, and +2 to blue. For abilities, Calyx has Bless of Nyx. This is going to cost you 9 loyalty at level 60, and it's going to make it so that you pick one of the first 3 cards from your library. You fetch that card, and if that card is an enchantment or an aura card, your first creature gets +4/+4. Then that creature gains the enchantment subtype. Now, auras in this set are going to work a little bit differently from how auras work in paper Magic. So the auras are spells instead of supports. And I say that they're spells instead of supports because in paper Magic, auras are enchantments that target a permanent. I believe that the auras that target players are called curses, or maybe if it targets your opponent it's a curse and you it's an aura, but auras typically enchant permanents. Now in this one, they're going to be, in Puzzle Quest, they're going to be enchanting creatures, and they are spells, meaning that they should count towards spell objectives, and cards that bring spells back from the graveyard or enable you to cast spells more easily should work in conjunction with this. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think it looks really cool. The second ability is Fated Hubris. So with this one, it is 12 loyalty, and exile target opposing creature with base toughness X or less. Then exile an opposing enchantment support with shield X or less. X is the sum of your devotions to green and white. So devotion's going to work in that whenever you play a monocolored card, that's going to increase your devotion to that color by 1. And then that will ultimately impact here this Fated Hubris ability. So you'll need to have played some mono white and mono green cards in order to make Fated Hubris become a powerful ability. And finally, the third ability, Commune with the Gods. You're going to create a Nyxborn Champion token, and your creatures get +2/+2 for each enchantment support you control. That Nyxborn Champion token is right down here. It's a support with 4 shields, and at the beginning of your turn, return the first aura and the first enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Those cards gain full mana. I really like how that ability reads, because as it specifies enchantment card, that means that we will be able to bring enchantment creatures back from the graveyard with this ability and get full mana. So this will work really well with a lot of like green cards like Gather the Pack, where you can dump your creatures into the graveyard. And if you've got Commune with the Gods back, then you can, if you've got it down, then you can start getting those creatures back and play them for free. Furthermore, there are a lot of really powerful auras, and so you can just use the 2 of them together. So I think the Planeswalker looks really cool. I'm really excited to try this one out. Our second Planeswalker is Ashiok. Excuse me, cough. Ashiok is a brand new blue-black Planeswalker to Puzzle Quest. Ashiok has amazing mana bonuses and some pretty cool-looking abilities. So for mana bonuses, Ashiok gets +5 to both of its colors. So it's got a +5 to blue and a +5 to black. which means that with proper gem conversion, you'll be able to get a lot of mana out of this Planeswalker. The 3 abilities really remind me a lot of just it being sort of like a black-blue version of Kaya, in that it is built around exile. So the first ability, Nightmare Harvest, has create a Nightmare Harvest token. Then pick one of the first 3 cards from your opponent's exile. Fetch that card, it gains 6 mana. Now the Nightmare Harvest token gives you Constellation. Exile the top 3 cards of your opponent's library, then destroy the top 3 cards of your own library. This will come in handy when we take a look at that third ability. The second ability, Consuming Fear, is return target creature your opponent controls to its owner's hand. Then exile 2 random cards from their hand. This is a pretty cool ability too, especially if you're playing a deck that has reasonable discard outlets. So you can pretty well lock your opponent down with a 12 cost return creature to your opponent's hand and make them exile cards from their hand too. And finally, that third ability, Living Torment, create a greater Living Torment token, then draw 4 cards. So that Living Torment token is going to be a black-blue creature. It's a 4/6 enchantment creature that has unblockable and, more importantly, hexproof. And then at the end of your turn, this creature's power and toughness become XX, where X is the number of cards in your opponent's exile. When this creature attacks, exile the top 5 cards of your opponent's library. Now, we have a bunch of ways of exiling cards right now, and so this token has the ability to become very powerful very quickly. I'm actually almost sad that this isn't just a creature card that is blue-black, so I could play it in a Kaya deck, but alas, not all things are meant to be. Nonetheless, this Planeswalker looks really cool, and another one I'm actually really excited to try out. Our third Planeswalker is Elspeth. This is our second Elspeth in Puzzle Quest, I believe. She has pretty phenomenal mana gains at +4/+3 in white, black, and red, and she actually has 3 really cool abilities. I'm going to go ahead and say that I think she's going to be very strong. So the first ability, Catabasis, is 6 loyalty. You fetch the first aura card from your library. It gains 4 mana. Then create a greater Catabasis token. This is all at level 60. That greater Catabasis token says whenever you cast a white spell, create up to 3 graveyard gems. Then that spell gains Escape and Buried X. X is that card's base mana cost. Now remember, spell, those aren't, for those of us that play paper Magic, that's not just like literally everything but lands. Spells are specifically like spell cards in this game. That being said, I'm going to go over graveyard gems, escape, buried, etc. But that you get recursion off of this is definitely really cool. The second ability, Glimpse of Dawn, is going to be 12 loyalty and then gain X life. Then your first creature gets +X+X. X is the number of white gems plus the number of graveyard gems. So this second ability is going to let you pump up a creature and make it really, really big. So if you've got a creature that buffs other things based on its power, or has some secondary effect based on its power, or even double strike, you're going to be able to make that thing into a massive beast with this ability. So I really like that, and it lets us gain life. So all in all, that's just a fantastic ability. And then finally, our third ability, Sun's Nemesis. This one's pretty cool in that it actually creates 2 tokens for us. We've got Greater Sun's Nemesis, and we've got Erebos' Gratitude. The first one is a creature. So Great Sun's Nemesis is a 2/2 soldier with first strike and lifelink. It is a leader soldier, meaning that as you play more soldier tokens, they will reinforce this creature. It has heroic, which means that when you target it with a spell, this creature gets +3/+3. Then all of your other creatures get +1/+1. Those are permanent buffs. And then when this creature attacks, exile an opposing enchantment support. My guess is that based on a lot of the new cards, we're going to be seeing a lot of enchantment supports. And so it's really nice to have a creature that's just going to exile one every time it attacks. Think of something like Killer Instinct, right? Killer Instinct is an enchantment support. And so if you've got this thing down, it's going to be attacking and effectively exiling Killer Instinct every time if you're up against a Killer Instinct deck. So that's a super powerful ability to me, even though it's just a 2/2 token. And then we also get Erebos' Gratitude, and this is going to be an enchantment that has whenever a creature you control dies, create up to 4 graveyard gems. Then that creature gains Escape and Buried X, where X is that card's base mana cost. So this just basically makes it so that if any of your non-token creatures die, that they can be brought back from the graveyard. So all in all, really, really cool abilities. This is actually the Planeswalker of the 3 that I am the most excited for. Now, new mechanics. We have a bunch of new mechanics in this set. We've got Enchanted and Heroic. Heroic is going to be that the Heroic ability triggers whenever you cast a spell that targets this creature. So any creature with Heroic, you target it with a spell and it gains the Heroic ability. Remember that auras are going to be spells in this. So if you cast an aura and target a creature with Heroic, you're going to get the Heroic ability on top of the aura's ability. Then we've got Enchanted. Enchanted reads, an enchanted card gains extra abilities in addition to its original ones. So from looking at the cards that have Enchanted, what's going to happen is the enchanted ability is going to act very much like an aura in that you cast this enchanted card and it's going to buff your creature in some way. And then most of them also have, when the creature dies, you then get to put a token into play that has the same abilities as the enchanted buff that you are providing for your creature. So it's exactly like how it works in Paper Magic for those of you that played in the original Theros set. And it'll be, I think, a really cool addition to this game too. We then get Anticipation and Ferocious. Ferocious is going to be an ability that is active as long as you control a creature with base power 5 or greater. I feel like that's a pretty easy thing to keep activated, keeping a creature down with base power 5 or greater. So that'll be an easy one to get going. That one's pretty cool. Anticipation. An Anticipation ability triggers whenever you cast a card during your opponent's turn. This one's going to be a little bit trickier. We don't quite have too many cards with flash, but depending on what the cards are that have Anticipation, it might definitely be worth using some more of those cards. First one that comes to mind for me is Court of Calling. I absolutely love that card, so I'm excited to give those a shot. You might say that I am waiting in anticipation. I deserve to be punished for that. I know I do. But I'm not sorry. That's the thing. I'm not sorry. All right. Buried, Graveyard Gem, and Escape. Buried reads, a card with Buried can be cast from the graveyard for its Buried cost. I love this for the exact reason that it says it can be cast from the graveyard. This doesn't mean summon, this means cast. So for all those cast objectives, if you start dumping a bunch of creatures with Buried into your graveyard, you will be able to cast them. So that's pretty nice in that it will help with a lot of objectives, and it makes it so that creatures are going to be a little bit harder to kill unless they are exiled. We've got Graveyard Gems. Those are going to be activated gems that have, when you match a graveyard gem, the last card in your graveyard with Buried that can gain mana gains 3 mana. Now this one I'm simultaneously really interested in and a little bit curious about. So I would imagine that you're going to be getting a lot of cards with Buried into your graveyard if you're building around the mechanic. So if this mana goes just to the last card, as you keep filling up cards in your graveyard, you're just going to be filling up a bunch of different cards with a little bit of mana, which might make it hard to play them. So I'm hoping that this will either wind up being the first card, or when something starts gaining mana, you can finish giving it mana, or something to that degree, but I absolutely love the idea of the mechanic. We've then got Escape. So while this card is in your graveyard, if it has full mana and you have 3 or more other cards in your graveyard, exile 3 other cards from your graveyard and cast this card. Once again, I love that because it's going to be cast from the graveyard. A lot of the Escape cards, well, all of them really, have bonus effects for escaping from the graveyard. We've got a number of ways of just dumping things in the graveyard anyways, so this could really turn out to be really cool. My one hope is that it doesn't turn out like paper magic, where getting a whole bunch of free things from your graveyard turns into chaos. We've then got, finally, Constellation and Devotion. Devotion reads, your devotion to a color is the number of times you've cast monocolored, non-copy cards of that color during a fight. So multicolored cards, no go. Colorless cards, no go. They need to be monocolored. Constellation is this ability triggers whenever you cast an aura spell or whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control. I'm really excited to see if we'll have some ways of making enchantment tokens or things of the like, because Constellation will be really easy to trigger if we can get some of those tokens going. Furthermore, if you're worried about, well, how will I be able to know what my devotion's going to look like? As you can see here from this Elspeth and Ashiok, just under your health and on your Planeswalker portrait, there's a little symbol right here, and I would imagine that you can tap on that symbol, and that's going to tell you what your devotion is to your different colors. So go ahead, take a look at that, and it will give you an idea of what is your devotion looking like. Now here's where we're getting to the big ticket item, and please hear me out on this, because if you just hear the first thing that I say, I'm sure that you'll disagree with me. But if you hear it all out, I think you very well may find that you understand or agree with, by and large, the major portion of what I'm saying. And hopefully this will get implemented in a way that people are okay with. So we've got changes to booster crafting, we've got changes to VIP packs, and we've got changes to standard packs. So for booster crafting, cards are no longer going to be up for booster crafting until a set rotates out. So once the set is replaced by a new set in the game, that set that was just replaced will now be available for booster crafting. We won't be able to craft a set while it is the most recent set. I don't actually have a problem with that at all, as I very rarely craft a set while it is the primary set. I'm interested to know if the booster crafting cost will go down in relation to that. So if the cost will still be 7,500 for a mythic, and whatever the costs are for the others. I can honestly say that I don't craft rares, uncommons, and commons. So I'm sorry, I'm not sure about that one. Now here's the really big deal, right? So we've got VIP booster pack changes and standard pack changes. The basic thing, like the TLDR of this, is that when you get a VIP booster pack or when you get a standard pack, it will only open for the sets that are available for it when you receive that pack. And the real big deal is that means that the VIP and standard packs that you have right now will not be able to open Theros Beyond Death cards if the patch comes out as this currently reads. Now, here's the thing, right? So I actually think that this is a change that is ultimately a very good one, a very healthy one, and a necessary one for the game. And I feel this way for a number of reasons. First thing is, if you are a person who's willing to pay for the game and you're willing to put up the money for that VIP subscription, then likelihood is that you're going to have the entire set in your pocket that first day the set comes out. Or at the very least, many of you are going to have the entire set. And really, at its core, this game is in part a collection-based game. So you entirely lose your reason to collect more cards. And that means that while you'll have this initial excitement when the set first comes out, you're going to lose a lot of that excitement really quickly. And I found that with Eldraine, I actually didn't have all of the VIP packs. I wasn't able to get it all at first. And I found that I was actually really excited every single week to get my VIP packs and to get those non-duplicate cards. It made it so that the set was parceled out to me in a way that kept me engaged in the game for a lot longer and much more excited throughout. And so that's really the first piece, is that it's going to keep players engaged for longer. the second piece, and this is also really important, is that we have a lot of different events that give us pack rewards. And if you take a look at how events have been structured, the rewards from War of the Spark on, and that's really just like highlighting our VIP era right now. The primary rewards for a lot of the coalition events that have come out have been packs. So we've been getting a lot of packs. We haven't been getting many mana crystals. We haven't been getting many mana jewels. And so if you're getting the whole set when the first day of release, you've really got no reason to play those coalition events apart from just playing for your coalition mates. And so I've read a lot in the forums about people saying like, we didn't ask for this, why is this happening? And there's been a lot of rumble about people just feeling like once they've got the VIP, they're like, why do I keep playing? And I know we've heard talk of seasons, we've heard talk of maybe titles or portraits or, all these other really cool things, but those aren't in the game right now. So what we should really be focusing on are the things that we have available to us right now. And so my hope is that with this change, this will increase overall engagement in the game significantly. So people will be more inclined to play the different events. There will be more pizzazz and excitement about pulling different cards. We'll have more cards to chase for longer. And that'll be really exciting. Now, on the flip side, I've read a lot. I've been talking to a lot of players. And if this releases how it's set to release, this is going to hit players in two ways. It's gonna make you really frustrated. It's gonna make you really upset, and it's also gonna hit your wallet, because if you're buying the VIP, then you're probably hoarding your packs in advance. It's what you've been doing since VIP came out, and you didn't know that this would ever change. I mean, it's just been, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna be getting these cards, and this is gonna be great. And by the way, I absolutely feel that you should be able to use your packs how you want, right? So, I mean, you're collecting them, you're paying money for them, you should be able to use them how you want. This isn't me saying that you shouldn't be able to use them how you want. It's just, it's my way of saying that I'm hoping that this will also increase general engagement. And I feel like this is something that was really needed for the VIP system, because in its current form, I feel like the VIP system it really needed a little bit of a tweak so that it just wasn't like the end all be all, I can pay and then I have no reason to play the game anymore. Now, that being said, if you've been paying, you've been stashing those packs, at the very least, I feel like we need to have a warning for this. That is, I think that if we could at least get a grace period so that this is the last set, right? So this Beyond Death set, if this is the last set that you can use them for, this lets all the people know who have spent money on VIP, hey, you can still get your non-dupe packs out of this, right? You've been holding on to your non-dupe packs, so here's your chance to use them. We promise you'll get your non-dupes. Don't worry about it. But then in future sets, you're going to want to go ahead and get VIP with the set. Now, a conundrum here, right? So this is, I feel like the implementation of this is a little bit of a loss. So here's where I absolutely need some of your guys' commentary on this video. So I want you guys to look at this from the dev side, and then for the dev to have a chance to sort of see it from your side too. Yeah. So from your guys' side, you've spent money on this, and so if this change comes into being, it's changed the product that you've spent money on. And so many of you, from what I've been reading, will likely go ahead and go through your app store and get a refund. That's going to hit the game. That's going to hurt the game. And I'm sure that if you're one of the people that would be doing that, that's not something that's worrying you because you're really, really frustrated about this. Now, if you look at it from the dev standpoint, right, they have to look out for the good of the game over time, not just about the immediate right now. So let's say that they were to implement this as I'm suggesting. We get one more set where we can get the non-dupes from those packs that we've been storing up, and then we'd have to get new subscriptions after that to get the non-dupes. So if that goes into place, then what will happen is, let's say that many of you wind up then not refunding your subscription because you're still able to use it. Maybe you cancel your subscription, but you're not refunding it, right? You're still ultimately getting sort of in large what you've paid for. For that matter, I'd argue that you're really getting what you've paid for, with some exceptions, for people who have like massive stashes. And then, so during this Theros Beyond Death set, you're going to be unlikely to want to get the VIP for the set, because once you fill out your set, you've really got no reason to maintain your VIP. That's not to say that the other VIP benefits aren't great. They are. I love them. So having the deck slots is really nice. Having the periodic crystals and jewels and all of that stuff is really nice, and I really like that. But at the same time, let's face it, the real draw for VIP are those non-dupe packs. So it's kind of like a loss for an implementation that I really think needs to happen. So either it goes live as it is and people request a ton of refunds, or it goes live with a slight tweak, and then with that slight tweak being we can still maybe use the cards for Beyond Death, or the packs for Beyond Death, and then fewer people are going to get subscriptions for this set. Now, I think that the fewer subscriptions for this set is ideally better for the long haul of the game. And I'm not an insider. I don't know what's going on in the studio. So this isn't me saying like I know exactly what's going on there. But at least with this, it's sort of like, I mean, it's sort of like a goodwill move, right? Like, hey guys, we're not just slamming this on you right away. It's going to be more of a, you still get to get all these cool non-dupes, right? So that's my general take on it. I think it's necessary, right? I really am hoping, from what I've been reading from player feedback, I'm really hoping that it releases slightly differently, right? Like, so my question to you guys, right, is how can this release and you still be satisfied or okay with the release? So is my proposal that you can still get non-dupes from Theros Beyond Death? Would you be okay with that? Or is there something else that you are looking for out of this? Because ultimately, I want to start a dialogue about this. I like to have generally positive feedback, so I don't really like to have like that whole negative thing. When I comment about the game, I like to comment like, what are the things that I like? So that as people see the videos, or, you know, like let's say that Octagon tunes into my videos, that they can see all the really cool things and go, yeah, you know, like the players are really liking that. So we want to do more of that. Instead of like, oh, I don't like this. Like, I actually could not read the forums for very long today. I felt a little bit sick reading the forums, just that like people had very strongly negative opinions, and I don't blame you. I'm not saying that I blame you for that at all. I don't particularly like the negativity. So in the comments, please leave what you think would be a good solution to this. And if you like my idea, please put that in there too. And hopefully it will be seen. I don't know that anything will change. Like I have no idea, but at least I'm hoping, you know, it'll be seen. And in this one, I'm really speaking on behalf of you guys. I'm not speaking so much on behalf of myself. I don't really have too many VIP standard packs stored up. I definitely have a few, but just given my opinion on the change, I'm not personally overly upset by it. So, event changes. I know, I'm shifting from heavy to, oh yeah, we've got some other really cool stuff going on. So we've got event changes. We've got Trials of the Plains. This is going to be giving us Theros Beyond Death boosters now. Proliferate is going to change a little bit, so it's now going to also affect saga cards, so that sagas go through their chapters more quickly. So I already have some pretty cool ideas with this, especially with the sword that proliferates twice. Just go through your sagas and Starfield of Nyx, but that will be an interesting thing to test out. And finally, this is, I think, oftentimes many of our favorite parts of these big patches. We've got some bug fixes, and There's some really big bug fixes here. So the first thing is it's going to fix a lot of the soft lock issues that players have been dealing with. Now, while this isn't citing specific cards, they've already gone out and said that this does fix the Teferi soft lock. I would imagine that this is also going to fix the Lucky Clover soft lock. And so ideally, I actually really think that the game from a bug standpoint is in a pretty good place right now. We've got a bunch of like little bugs, so things like Grumgully and creature buffs. We've got some wonky things going on there. But when it comes to actual crashes, well, there are some very serious crashes right now that it looks like they are dominantly being dealt with in this patch. So fixed some issues with adventure cards. Those are double-sided. Fixed some soft locks caused by double-sided cards. That's huge. Fixed an issue with the second node objective on Challenge of the Court's Embereth. That's the red one. Fixed an issue where Hixis Prison Warden would enable all creatures, even those disabled by other cards. So when Hixis dies, if you have creatures that are disabled, if there are creatures that are disabled by other cards, Hixis will not then enable those cards. Fixed an issue where Cisse, Weatherlight Captain, would not count Vanguard support colors to buff itself. Fixed an issue with the wrong amount of activated gems converted by Feyburrow Elder. Fixed an issue with Tournament Grounds text and trigger. Fixed an issue with the amount of cards exiled by Consecrate. Fixed an issue where Prevent Damage would remain active even after Gideon Blackblade's ability tokens were exiled. I'm really glad about that one. I saw some pretty wonky things in my coalition chat of people going up against that and then being up against permanent Prevent Damage. Fixed an issue where the land fetched by Knight of the Reliquary would not receive mana, as the card's text states. I'm actually really excited about that one. I tried making a video on Knight of the Reliquary when I pulled it like a month ago, and then I found that bug and I was like, I'm going to wait until this gets fixed. So I might wind up making that again. Fixed a text issue in Altar of Dementia to fix other on-death triggers. Fixed an issue with Saheeli's Silverwing card missing the flying evergreen. Fixed some animation issues. Fixed an issue with the amount of mana given by Fervent Champion. And finally, fixed an issue where Karn, the Great Creator Vanguard's effects, would not be active while the support was on the board. If you're wondering what were those effects, it was just that it wouldn't disable the artifacts. It wouldn't disable the artifact creatures, and your opponent could still play them. So I'm really excited to see that that is fixed so that I can now play with that. So that's really everything from the patch notes. We've also got the card gallery. I'm going to be going over that in my next video. But please go ahead, take a moment, comment on this video, give your thoughts, give your feedback. Please be constructive. Please try and stay positive. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.